is the 5 habits of top performers.
Hey, this is Blake Sloan. I've been selling real estate over 14 years. Our team of highly trained professionals, along with our unmatched marketing, has sold thousands of homes here in the Myrtle Beach area, and this is how we do it.
A lot of times there's just a lot of pieces that we kind of run into, and to set it up, there's a bunch of pieces that matter with this, right? So what do you think stops most people in sales? Besides skill set, habits, what else? Was it?
Freedom.
Lucas, what did you say? Would you say something? Fear. It's fear, right? So people have this fear of what? Rejection, right? That's the number one thing that stops most salespeople. It happens in every single business. So what holds most salespeople back is this fear of rejection. And that comes from just how we are programmed our entire lives coming up, right? Anytime we see rejection, it's a negative thing, right? Anytime you're saying no your entire life. I think I gave you a study like the average person hears no from their parents like 200,000 times. You get that, and then what happens is that that anchors in these fear of rejections our entire life, right? And so it's something that's important to remember. And one of the key parts here that really matters, and one of the things that sets these people apart, is their attributes and habits. Attributes and habits. What do you think that means? So the attribute is what? Is the actual thing, one of the 5 things that makes the top 1% better, right? And buyer side, seller side, whatever it is, the same exact thing. And the habits are what they do. And so the good news is you can model the attributes and you can create the habits. And that's the important part we talk about. Now, to kind of set up initially, environment matters. Why do you think environment matters? This is what's so powerful about what we offer here, what we have. But environment matters. And I'm just setting up the entire piece for the 5. But what do you think that means, having the environment matters?
It's just so important. Such an effect on you, and you are what you're around.
So if I have fear of rejection and I'm isolated, what happens to my fear? It expands, it goes up, right? It continues to go up, so I have less interaction, I have less desire to be bold, I have less desire to go out. And so that's why it's important to make sure you're surrounded by people who are pushing that limit. Because I hear somebody beside me making the phone call, even though I'm scared, they get something that's not as bad as rejection, they get an appointment. What happens to me? My belief goes up, my confidence goes up, which allows me to conquer that number 1 fear. And so it's important that I model that, understand the value of what we have here and the value of the environment, and make sure, number 1, I stay plugged in. Number 2, I'm aware of what the environment is. I'm able to make sure I can do that overall. And also I'm able to make sure that I'm really making sure that I'm able to have this piece where I don't take it personal. And I want to understand this thing that he talks about in there. That's called stimulus and response. Stimulus and response. I've talked about this in the warrior stuff before, but stimulus and response, there's really 2 main things. I want you guys to look at rejection just in a simple way. So I have a stimulus. I control what I say to the person, but I can't control what they say back to me. Are you with me on that? So I can control what I say to them in terms of my script, in terms of my tonality, in terms of my words. Now, does it dictate the response sometimes? Yeah, based on my skill set. But most of the time, I can't control their upbringing. I can't control their current situation. I can't control if they're crazy or not. So what's happening is I can only control my stimulus. I cannot control the response. So I want you guys to understand there's a separation there. And I want you to understand is that all I can control is my offer. I cannot control the response. And so when I look at it that way, I don't do what? I don't take it personally. And I want you to have this thing that we've had forever and ever, is that some will, some won't, so what? Right? Some will do, some will say yes, some won't, so what? You got to make sure you have that mindset. And here's the thing. I make calls, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of calls. I take 2 days off, come back on Monday. Guess what happened? You have fear about making calls, right? You have to make sure you have this entire momentum and mindset that you can skill set that and train that overall, right? They say no, you don't take it personally, but here's a key part, right? If they do say no, thank you, I appreciate you. When you are ready, I'll be ready. You have that energy where it's not combative. They say no to you. You don't really worry about it. You don't take it personally. What do you say? Thank you, I appreciate you. When you are ready, I'll be ready. Very, very important piece, right? And so that's another piece we'll talk about. We'll also talk about follow-up after the sale. One of the studies talk about is 90% of agents never call a client back once they put them in the house. Super important. We talked with a couple agents here lately, and I'm going to dig on that deeper on getting that to the finish line and share an example overall. But we got to realize that it's a very emotional experience. It's a very scary experience, right? You could be really, really, really good, but if I don't stay engaged, what happens to the client's view of me? As the time goes on, it gets less and less, right? And so it's our responsibility as a salesperson to do what? To follow up immediately, make sure we follow up immediately after the sale, and make sure I don't lose out in the next 4 to 7 sales, both in the repeat business and also referrals. And we're big on missing this and overall. And so part of my prospecting every day needs to be what? Call my past clients, and it has to be built in that scenario overall. And so 3 things that you must really kind of do in today's economy really is important. Number 1, you must make sure every single day, today this is separate from the 5, is I must come out swinging. What does that mean? I must come out swinging in a big way, because what's happening is the market's contracted. The market's contracted since where it was a year ago, where it was 2 years ago. I got to make sure that I'm really coming out swinging every single day with my intensity and my mindset and just how I operate with my clients, meaning that it's very competitive. Anybody's talking about it, your clients are talking to 3 or 4 other agents, listing people, they're talking to 3 or 4 other agents, people are discounting commissions, right? It's very, very important to make sure I have this mindset of coming out swinging. I'm going to dig into this in a second, right? And so one of the key things, though, we got to make sure to realize is that I'm constantly following up with my clients, because the minute that they sign that contract, what do you think comes in?
That would be it.
What's it called? Buyer's remorse. 2 times it happens. Number 1, it happens when they sign the contract, right? AKA the purchase or sale contract. And the second time it comes in many cases is what? After the closing, right? It could happen before the closing, but they sign the paper, all of a sudden they realize what? They're driving home and they have what? A 30-year mortgage with $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month in payments. And so our job is to what?
Comfort them.
We want to call and comfort them and really reassure them in their sale. And so it just talks about, one of the agents he goes and talks about went from like 60 homes to 120 homes a year, just by doing a simple thing, by calling the clients afterwards. And there's 2 main things. I've taught this a million times. It's just a different way to teach it. Number 1 thing you want to make sure you do, right, is you want to make a big deal and call them, number 1, the day of. Why is that?
Well, they made a great decision.
That's when the overall biggest part of the buyer's remorse kicks in. You want to call them and say, hey, look, you guys made a great decision. Congratulations on this. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you guys. You're going to love it. You're going to be very, very happy in what you do. And we'll talk about this. I'm just setting up kind of what I'm talking about. Number 1 is going to be bold, right? That's the number 1 thing that people are. They're bold. They're super important. But it's very important, right? After closing, say, I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for trusting me. You're going to love it. You made a great decision. I'll say it again. I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for trusting me. You're going to love it. You made a great decision. I've been trying to simplify this for you guys on how I do it. So number 1, I do that when? Day of. Second thing I do, 2 days later. What do I do? Call back. Hey, how's the house going? How's everything going? Guess what? I'm so happy for you. I'm proud of you. Thank you for trusting me. You're going to love it. You guys made a great decision. Anything I can do to help you with the house? You need any vendors, any plumbers, any electricians, whatever it is. And what I'm slowly doing there is giving them confidence from what? Buyer's remorse. Right? Their fear kicks in. Oh my God, the payment's coming up in 28 days. Right? All these things happen, but people are happy. We'll talk about that in a minute once they buy it, but it's very, very important for us to do that. And what I'm doing there is I'm slowly anchoring in what? Me as being their person, their real estate resource for life. And we already connecting the dots from our buyer-seller presentation we had over there in that scenario. Simple way to do that afterwards. Guess when next time I do it? 2 weeks out. Guess what I call? Right? I'm so proud of you, right? So happy for you guys. You made a great decision. The market's already up a little bit. Prices are already going up. You've already built some equity just in a matter of 2 weeks. Anything that I can do to help you with the house any better. But the key there, and that's why he was the number 1 Hummer dealer, I think in like all of Texas, Oklahoma, all those. Just by doing what? Following back up. All his entire business was built on repeat referrals. Super simple, because no one takes the time to do this. One of the stats I talk about in there is that 98% of agents never follow up past the first sale. Next one I call in, guess when it is? 2 months. Guess what they do? Hey, just want to reach out to you. see how the house is doing and say, I'm so happy for you guys. I know you love the house. I'm sure you made some improvements for it. What have you added to it? By the way, I'm your real estate resource for life. Do you need any plumbers, any electricians, anything, landscapers? I can get you a discount, get you a really good deal. And so what am I doing there? I'm anchoring in their mind that I'm their real estate toll booth, right? Anything they need house related, guess where they're not going? They're not going to Angie's list. They're going where? To Blake's list. And so when you come down to understanding the law of reciprocity, that's why this matters so much. Now, what stops you from making the calls? Fear. You're fearful of what? Rejection. Or that what? What will that rejection be like?
I hate the house.
You hate the house, right? Something's wrong with it. And so what does that do if that is the case? It gives you the chance to fix it, right? Most of the time, if they have resentment with a house, that resentment leads to you, but you don't follow up, so you can't fix it, and all of a sudden, your opportunity to get referrals is dead. Whereas you can say, look, well, no problem. We get your handyman to fix that for you for $100. I'll have him over there this afternoon. Whatever it is. And then what happens is that adds more reciprocity on top of it. And now they feel obligated to do what? Send people to you and come back to you if they do come back. Does that make sense to you guys? Very, very, very important to do there. Making sure. And then after that, so I got day 1, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. And then all of a sudden, I want to make sure I find a way to stay in their life. Super important piece here. Now, who all is doing at least this much follow-up with your past clients? Right? And I talked to you a little bit, right? So it's one of those things that it has to happen systematically. Now, here's the problem. In addition to fear, what do you think the biggest reason people don't do it is? It's not scheduled. They forget about it. And so the way for me to do that is to have what? A task or a plan. Don't get mad at the money. What do you think that means? What do you think that means?
You made money off of it and start a new slate.
I don't get mad at people that I can make money off of. Right? And my mom always said, I don't get so mad at somebody I can't make $1 off of them. It's very important to understand. And Coach Burt talks about, what type of people I like? The ones that pay their bills. That's it, right? True professionals don't base anything based on feelings. Amateurs do things based on feelings. And so if you have an amateur, right, they have a feeling towards this follow-up or a feeling towards the client, right? That's an amateur view. Professionals do things regardless of their feelings. And that's the key difference that we talk about, and it's very, very, very valuable to understand. And so I want you to write that down as a note, is I don't get mad at the money. I'm here to do a job, and I'm here to help people move from A to B in their life, period. And as a professional, I don't let my feelings dictate that. With me on that? So super important piece there overall. Now, I'm going to get to the habits, the top 5 habits of top performers or 1% performers. Number 1, this is very valuable, and we'll talk about this. Number 1, talks about very valuable, is remarkable boldness. What that means, remarkable boldness. What do you think that means overall?
No fear.
You act in a way of no fear, and you act anyway in what? In the face of fear. Right? The 2 words together mean striking fearlessness. Striking fearlessness. So overall, does that mean I'm not scared? Nope. It just means I have fearlessness, and I take action in the face of fear. I take action in the face of fear, right? The number one thing that people have in selling is fear of rejection, right? They're scared to get a no. They're scared to get laughed at. And so the ability, right, to be bold in the place of fear, I replace fear with boldness. And here's the crazy part. I have to understand that money changes hands when problems are solved. And so money changes hands when problems are solved. And so part of what I have to do here is have remarkable boldness in what I do. What does that mean? Mostly what we do is I have to make sure I stand in the fire in the face of an objection or the face of a challenge, which are things like what? I need to think about it. I want to come back to it. I want to sleep on it. These are the things you run into the most. And he tells a great story about, anybody listen to it? Remember what the story was? He bought a car. He had a G-Wagon. The G-Wagon got the windshield kept cracking because of the design. Went back into the car dealership and said, look, the G-Wagon keeps cracking windshields. It's my 3rd windshield. I know it's a great looking car, but I want something better. So we ended up looking at a Maybach, I think an S600 type car, right? Spent all day at the dealership, got to the end. The guy says, hey, look, we just got to run your credit, fill this paper out. It takes 2 minutes. We'll see if we can keep the payments the same and we can get you in this car. And guess what he said? You know what? It's been a long day. Been here all day. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I want to go home and think about it. And he talks about the value there is he truly wanted to go home, and he wanted to go home and think about it. He was tired, and he knows sales too. And guess what the salesman did? He had remarkable boldness and said, hey man, here's the deal. You like the car, you love the car. Let's just take 2 minutes. You've been here all day. Take 2 minutes to step in my office, fill this paper out really quick, and we'll find out and make the deal work or not. And so in the face of remarkable boldness, guess what happened? Went back in there, did the paperwork, obviously had good credit, worked out, and he walked home and left in that car. Right? Which obviously is a multiple $100,000 car. It's a Maybach. All because what? The salesman had remarkable boldness. He talks about if he would have gone home, guess what he probably would have thought? Well, I don't really need this car. It's new. It's going to cost a lot of money. Probably better for me to just put another windshield in there, which insurance covers and just for free. But remarkable boldness from the salesperson made the person do what? Made him do what? Take action in that scenario, which is a super important part there. So here's an example. I gave that part of that, which is important. We get this all the time. Where does this happen for us? Comes in the house and then choosing you as the agent. Right? So you get to how many of you guys have been showing a house and they say, well, this house is too much. I can't afford it. Payment's too high. HOA is too high. Whatever it is, tax is too much. Right? And they tell you want to think about it. What happens? They go home, sleep on it, right? And they're not going to sleep in it. So what you want to do, what remarkable boldness is you say, hey, man, I understand, but I think coming home to this house every night, think about how happy this house is going to make you, about how you come home to work every night to this, and the joy and the happiness you're going to have. Right? And so what do you guys do? You have remarkable boldness back to them when they're telling you to think about it. So here's who's been to a house and you show the house, they said they won't think about it. Who has? Raise your hand. Right? How many have let them go before? Everybody, right? And so many times what happens, they aren't, and we talk about here, which is important, is that you have to go back and be bold in that moment, right? The client tells you want to think about it, and guess what you got to say? If I had to call you tomorrow morning and told you that someone else made an offer and this house is no longer available, how would you feel? I want you guys to make sure that you obviously take action now. And here's the deal. I wouldn't be doing my job as your agent if I didn't tell you this next thing, right? If you have to go home and sleep on it, chances are most likely you're not going to be sleeping in it. That's remarkable boldness, but what do we end up doing? Most of us fold at that moment. We let them go think about it, and then we just become an order taker afterwards. Because why? We fold that moment that you have to have remarkable boldness. And so boldness comes when? In the close. Right? That moment we have there. And so a couple of things I'm going to give you guys. We have to make sure. And here's the other thing. This is a great example he talks about. How many of you think that a house can make you happy?
Make you happy?
Yeah. I do. Yeah. Right? Coming home to an amazing house. That's my dream house after work and busting my ass and sitting on the back patio. Right? In my situation, the back porch, looking at the water. Right? Does that make me happy? Yeah. Do you think Coach Burt driving home in that Maybach made him happy? Absolutely. Right? And so we have to understand and be willing to do what? Be bold. To help them understand. I want you guys to write this down. People move towards things that make them happy. People move towards things that make them happy. And so my job is to understand, hey, look, here's the deal. You guys told me you want this. It's exactly what you want. It matches exactly what you're looking for criteria-wise. There's no need to sleep on it. Let's write this thing up and get you in it, because let me ask you this. How would you feel if I called you in the morning and told you somebody else made an offer tonight and it's not there anymore? Very, very important piece for me to understand overall with that scenario, right? And I think I have my notes here that you want to make sure you tell that story overall, right? Other thing talks about happiness. McDonald's created a Happy Meal and sold billions of them, right? Because people move towards that piece. They're searching for this thing called happiness. And our job as agents to do what? Remember that. From the listing side, say the same exact thing. Hey, look, here's the deal, right? I don't want to call you back 2 months from now because you went with that average agent and let you know you sold for $40,000 less than you could have. Right? You like what we have. You like me. You like the system here. You said it matches everything you want. Let's go ahead and get this thing written up and get it on the market and get it sold for you. Right? You want to have that boldness in that piece, which is super important in that scenario. Overall, right? You love the house, don't you? Right? This is the right house for you. You have to have it. Let's make the deal. Super important for you guys to talk about. And so that's the other part we have there. And here I want you guys to write this down. Another thing you can say, it's a word track. I wouldn't be doing my job as your agent if I didn't say this to you. I wouldn't be doing my job as your agent if I didn't say this to you.